about what they refuted to me about a couple of claims. So the first one, I'm going to talk about what they said about the risk of faceless electors. So basically, there is a risk of faceless electors that they allege, and like I said earlier, it only happened 9 times. And also, if you think about it, there isn't really a reason for someone to want to do this because these electors, they're selected precisely because of their political reliability, and an elector's failure to vote for his or her party's candidate would destroy the party career that they worked so diligently to build. So they would just be destroying their own career that they worked really hard to build in the first place. And then also they said that you don't have to necessarily vote for the same person of your party. However, approximately half the states and the District of Columbia have enacted statutes that require electors to pledge themselves to vote for their party's nominee. And this is based off of Juris Law Pitt edu. Also, 6 of the 7 faceless electors since 1948 have been conservatives who have voted for conservative alternatives to their own party's candidate rather than for the opposing party's candidate. And the 7th voted for her party's vice presidential nominee, which was Lloyd Bentsen, in preference to its presidential nominee, Michael Drawkins. So basically, they're not voting for the opposite party, they're just voting for a different candidate, but it's the same party, so they're not really being very faceless. And then another thing that they brought up that I thought I was going to address was that the whole voter turnout, because there are other factors that constitute voter turnout, like for example, a lot of competition is the role of competition is a major factor in whether or not a specific election within an area will have higher or lower turnout rates, and this was taken from GNU edu. And basically, they have an example, which is that in 1996, most people knew that Bill Clinton would coast to victory over Bob Dole, so as a result, only 52% of those eligible voted, the lowest turnout rate since 1924. Contrast that with the 64% turnout rate in 1960, which was one of the closest elections in a century. So, basically, how competitive the election is going to be a big factor in how many people are going to go out and vote. If it's something that they feel it's pretty much that person pretty much is going to win no matter what, they're not necessarily going to go out and vote. But if they feel like it's an equal chance either way, they're going to have way more incentive to even vote. And then also, another thing that is a factor for voter turnout is that evidence from Indiana University said that wealthy, college-educated would vote at the rate of 91%, while young, poor minority group members who did not finish high school are estimated to vote at the rate of 22%. So this is a clarification that the successful middle class is substantially overrepresented in the active electorate, and that those who are otherwise not part of this group are substantially underrepresented among the active electorate, and their interests get correspondingly less attention from politicians. So basically, another reason is because some people don't even feel like their wants and their desires are even important to these candidates, so they're not going to even vote because they don't feel like they're even focusing on their issues, something that is important to them. And the last thing that they talked about was the whole Electoral College basically made so that it's not fair because the smaller states have more preference. But another thing is that we don't have it's not a risk to democracy because, for one, we don't have a direct democracy. As stated in usgov.info.com, the U.S. is a representative democracy under a Republican form of government, as provided for in Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, which states the United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a Republican form of government. So therefore, this isn't violating democracy or people's will. So in conclusion, I believe that those claims were insufficient to accurately allege that we should abolish the Electoral College.